So with the bizarre irony, seeing as the Second World Cold War has kicked off again, sometime now, whatever, apologies, I've gone and kind of made a mess of me, slight chronological wander through tank design. Well, I ended up doing the Centurion, so let's do the Leopard. The Airfix Leopard 172nd was the first tank I ever made as a kid, and it came out moderately okay for a 7-year-old, I think. So anyway, here it is, Tamiya 135th, and it's really dark. Ooh, maybe we'll see how this goes. Anyway, it's just the bits, isn't it? You know what they're like. I love this era's turrets and the wonderfully low profile hull. So I like this tank. It's a nice old simple model. Here we go. Has that all changed? I don't know, technology makes life better. Parts looking great. Simple old model, nothing too hyper technical and over the top. Let's just romp through it and have some fun. So here we go. Well, first thing you're supposed to do according to the instructions is the rear, so I've done that, and then the wheels, but I'm working on those, so we won't see those yet. And then gradually the turret's coming together. I've just popped it on the upper section of the hull, because it means you can work on it without having your hands too close to it, which is something I learnt as a kid and then forgot. Oops. Well, the camera's putting in a protest tonight, isn't it? Come on. See you in a minute. Weird stuff, technology. That's how it's going to take over the world. Non-compliance. Yes, I'm talking about you. Wow. Anyway. So, yes. Working on the turret. Coming together really quickly. And of course I haven't actually glued the hull on. I'm probably halfway. Given that, you know, the wheels are just a bit of a mass production process. But there it is. There's a strangely shiny bit there. It's not glue. I haven't done anything. I have not been gluing in that region. So, oh, here we go. So, farewell for now. Yeah, we're back. We're back. So anyway, yeah, weird shiny bit. Nothing to do with me, Governor. And come on. Yeah, I'm going to have to come back to this with you. Oh, well, I've got nothing more to say now. I've lost it all. Back in a second. Well, what I was going to do at this point was say it's moving along nicely and explain the colour. Because on the box art, bit of shine, there is a hint of shine, and I know on the old Airfix model I think it said it was a gloss. I remember painting it gloss when I was a kid, and at a couple of tank museums I've been to, it came over as painted gloss, so I've gone for a gloss. Did you see what happened with the camera? I wonder if that's just on the screen or if that came out. There we are, that's correct. And then it does strange things. Not only does it have trouble focusing, but it goes the wrong colour. This is not the colour. This is far too bright. In real life it is not this bright grassy green. I was going to say this camera's got problems. It may well have, in fact I'm sure it has, but I think I know what's going on here. I think somebody with little fingers has got hold of this. In fact, I know that they have got hold of this camera, and I think they have pressed the buttons and changed the settings. Well there we go. So believe me, it's the correct colour but shiny, which you can see the shine. The colour's wrong. There we go. I'll have to see what I can do with this camera then. I can't remember if I've explained why I've done this in a gloss, a rather high gloss at that, and that's because in almost all the illustrations of it, and that's illustrations not photographs, it does appear to be in a dark green gloss. And the model I did as a kid, I think it was my first tank model ever, was one of these, and I'm quite sure that said it was a gloss. And in some of the photographs of it you can see it's glossy, and a lot of military stuff has been glossed from time to time. I know some fellas with military vehicles, some have got interwar ones and some have got sort of just post-war-ish, and others, and if they're not actually in action they do paint a lot of their vehicles in gloss, and these guys are authentic down to the millimetre. So I'm sticking with that principle on this one, just because this seems to regularly crop up like this. It'd be easy enough to get it back down to matte if I find I'm completely wrong. So everything from it appears to have been gloss, as some tanks do. I've seen some Centurions in gloss. I think I might have even seen them in tank museums or tank collections in gloss. Anyway, so yeah, and a bit of nostalgia, and not nostalgia, I can't find a link, but here's the wheels. I've clipped the body on. I've clipped the upper part of the hull to the lower part, and done some preliminary grot. I'm not going to do a lot of muck, but I do want a lot of washes to give it a slightly muddy quality. I don't know how well this is going to show up. Looks a very different green because I've got the first layer of wash on it. Let's see if we can find that one's really quite loaded. So this is the plan. 2 more shades, I think, of muck, different colours, not colours, that would suggest like red and yellow, different tones of murky brown, just to suggest it splashed through mud fairly often. I'll add a bit more green to the underside, just like highlighting and dry brushing, and that should be that colour wise. So let's get building again. I decided to pause just for a moment to do a little bit of weathering before other parts go on, because sometimes things get a bit difficult, particularly all this gear along here, all the tools and stuff. As a kid I used to battle with that until I finally gave in and thought I'm going to have to do some weathering before stuff goes on, so that's what I'm doing now. Let's call it nostalgia. Some of it's a bit heavy and some of it's a bit more than I might have liked, but I think that's okay. I think I can take that back with a bit of hand painting, just to create a slightly different surface texture, because I perfectly even paint job would be very rare after sort of 5 minutes of being a tank in particular, but all kinds of other things. So, you know, cars out in the wild, tractors in their native environments and so on. And there's a lot of tractors around here. You know, I should get some shots, and some pretty well used quad bikes to give us some vague information. So I've done this. This is what I'm up to at this point. The other thing is, I think I don't want to go too wild on the weathering. So I think what I'm going to do is just do a couple of kind of blobs of mud in 1 or 2 wheels, just because weathering can accidentally become a bit, what's the word, you know, where everything's even and equal all round. There's a word for it, symmetrical. So just a little bit of irregularity, asymmetry, all of that kind of thing. Getting a bit pretentious again, but you know what I mean. Just needs a bit of mucking up. And I think that will do us for now. Let's go and put some mud in the wheels. Yeah, I think I might get just a bit of mud around these bits and stuff like that. Not too much, just a little, just to break the surface up. That'll do. And perhaps I should get on with that then. Oops, I should show you it from the back, which I'm quite enjoying. It's a bit heavier than I'd anticipated and wanted, and obviously there's work to be done yet, but I quite like that. That will do for now, won't it? And we will dabble with it later. So off we go. I've come outside because it's a nice day, but it just happens to be really windy. So I've ended up sitting in my car, which is, you get so many videos of people sitting in their car, don't you? Anyway, we're hanging out the door. The point here is that I've ended up with a big delay. The cable at the back doesn't reach the loop. Let's call it the loop. Can we see that? Oh. Anyway, it's about 3.5 millimeters out, and I've ended up snapping. That should be a loop, and it should go through that there, that bit there, and it just won't go. I've fiddled about so long. I think I've got spare ones of these, and look, can you see? It won't even touch. I know it looks like it's touching, but it won't. It's miles out. That's better. Look at that. So I think I've got spare ones of these, and they might be bigger, but they might be slightly wrong. They might be off an old Tiger tank. But this has really slowed the whole process down because I don't know where the spares are. I've got a box full of tank spares, and they're not in there, but I'm sure I've got them. And so we've ended up waiting over 2 weeks now for another film, all over this, and the colour. So I'm going to bring this to a halt and call it part 1. Everything is now on apart from the 2 cables, and I've just noticed the machine gun. So apart from that, we're there structurally. So it's time to kind of unleash it as a film, isn't it? Oh, I'll paint the lights. So yeah, let's draw this to a close, put a film out, and then come back to it and see what we can do. I suspect in the end I'm going to get a piece of thread and stick it onto spare ones of those that I have found, with the little groove in them, the notch, so that you can put pieces of thread in there. I've got a feeling that's the way ahead. I've knocked the mirror off just there. Anyway, there we go. So don't want to sound non-upbeat, so we're going to be upbeat. So there we go, it's all gone really well. Apart from this, it's one of those joyous, simple, old-fashioned models that I like, and we are going to move ahead with it in part 2, and I might change the colour, and then we'll put the markings on and a tiny bit of weathering where I've lost some, and that will be that. We'll be done. We'll have a great time. I'm going to stick it on the wall now and see what it looks like in the light with a bit of good background, but I probably won't say anything. So as usual, thanks for watching, thanks for being patient, and thanks for returning, because I'm sure you will, won't you? Yeah, go on. Go on. Alright, here we go, let's have a look. Of course, I did forget that there's the aerials to go. Oh, look, I've broken that. There's the aerials to go, and the ugly, whacking great ugly lantern, as we call it. But anyway, here it is so far. Where does that leave us then? Oh, I've broken that and all. This is all this mucking around with this cable. Anyway, where does this leave us? Well, it leaves us here at this magical point with a largely complete model. A few bits to go, and then reconsider the colour. Let's turn it around. I said I wasn't going to talk, but obviously I remembered that I'd forgotten things, and a bit of weathering to do too, just a little. So that is our Leopard. And I just can't bring myself to do that, can I? Never mind. Here we go. Also, the smoke discharges. They're all right on the other side, but on this side, it's clear they've popped up, which I've known parts do in the past, particularly wheels. Actually, you put a tiny bit of glue on, push them in, and they just slowly push themselves out because you're creating pressure, and that means the holes weren't clear. They were not full of paint. I made sure of that, so I'm going to have to cut those ones off on that side and redo them. Don't mind them being a bit wonky, because these things get knocked about a bit, but I do mind that they are jumping up. The little trials and tribulations, eh? There's even cobwebs on it. Look around here. What's going on? Well, actually, there's an absolute infestation of tiny little spiders at the moment, so it'll be them. Well, a little bit of dusting to do too.